Uh, so good evening to all of you who have joined from India, and good afternoon and good morning to people who have joined from outside the country. Uh, Today is the 32nd edition of Analytics Wednesday, the weekly webinar, online webinar that we host, where we disseminate knowledge, information to our participants, to professionals, whether it is from finance area, internal auditors, forensic experts, and others who join in. And this is being simultaneously being streamed on YouTube. This will remain as part of the series there. And over the period of next, we usually find that over the next 1 or 2 months, people come over and look at this analytics video and learn a lot from these videos which are there, the experience sharing which happens on this Analytics Wednesday. Today, we have got Michael Schleupen, Managing Director, and Stephan Sturm, a senior IT consultant from Audit, Germany, live with us. We are very thankful for them to spare time and show commitment to the professionals in this country and make themselves available so that we can learn from them, have a dialogue with them, interact with them. They will be making short presentations to us, giving the philosophy, talking about Smart Exporter and the Smart Suite apps. Before I get into the topic, just enlighten you on few aspects of the topic. Let me say that Sama Audit in the last 20 years has been at the forefront in bringing technology to auditors and to finance professionals in the territory, in India and the neighboring countries. The flagship product, of course, was IDEA, continues to be IDEA, with very strong product lineup. We have Smart Exporter, which is installed in a number of top organizations in the country. We have got Caseware Working Papers, which is end-to-end solutions for the CPA, CA firms in the country. We have got LSA, which is continuous control monitoring solution for for organizations. And of course, a very strong consulting and teams which are available with us at Sama, who deliver solutions around the technology and around other technologies also. So I think that's very important. So now we work with Python, Power BI, and a lot of other technologies so that they get integrated with different technical solutions which are available to bring the best in internal audit and finance functions. And also the operational areas. This session, online webinar series, is being supported by the Government of Canada, the Trade Commissioner Service. And the good news, as I spoke about it last time, is that in February, we'll be hosting a program in the High Commission premises in New Delhi, where we will be physically inviting a few chief internal auditors and CFOs, and we will be having a session there. So hopefully, I think we will keep opening our doors and we'll not be struck by another wave of COVID, and we will have the session in February in the High Commissioner premises in New Delhi. The wonderful participants who are joining in, I would like to welcome them also, because they have been joining in session after session. For example, Kagan from Turkey has joined in. Similarly, a lot of other participants who join in every session. I would just like to speak about Smart Exporter and Smart Suite apps which we have launched in the last week. First is the Smart Exporter. It's a ETL for SAP. And since India is a SAP country, because almost all top public sector government enterprises have SAP, the private organizations, large private organizations have SAP installation, the SAP ERP, and even mid-sized organizations are now opting and going in for SAP installations. So what we find is that amongst the ERP, SAP is number one in the country. And since there are such a lot of installations, you will find that Audit has come out many years back, a certified ETL which can help in smart data mining from SAP. And we have got number of organizations in the country who have installed SAP, are very happy, Smart Exporter, are very happy with the solution and are continuing to maintain it. We are hopeful that more organizations will be having the Smart Exporter solution because it's very cost effective. It's a very low cost solution and value add solution. On top of that, Germany, Audit, along with Caseware, has come out with Smart Suite apps, which is procure to pay and order to cash. audit tests, which will allow an auditor to do, or a finance department to review run automated tests at a click of a button. I think we will learn more from Michael, Schleupen and Stephan today. But these tests come at a fraction of the cost, because if one were to hire an external consulting firm and try to understand the tables, the information which resides in SAP, and then try to develop some tests, think about the tests, and then go out to conduct audit tests, we find that organizations would be spending months and months, would be running maybe 25 or 30 tests. And here we have got more than 108 audit tests which are ready to go at a click of a button. So I think very innovative, very enterprising, and a huge value add for the customers and all SAP installations. So I think with this small introduction, because I would be then speaking ahead of Michael and Stephan, I would like to request Michael to speak or give an overview, introduce the topic about Smart Exporter and accelerated audit testing with Smart Suite apps in SAP, and then maybe Stephan can show magic, how with few clicks we can do automated tests without knowing much of what resides into SAP. So I think over to you, Michael and Stephan. I'll just quickly introduce Michael. Michael is the Managing Director of Audicon Germany. Stephan Sturm is a senior IT consultant with Audicon Germany. And Stephan, of course, I don't want to introduce Michael. He's the Managing Director of Audicon. So, that's it. And Stephan, he's got training and consulting for data analytics with Caseware Idea, Smart Suite for SAP development, Audicon expert for SAP data analysis and technical product management, process mining solutions. So I think very short, I've just introduced Stephan. So over to you, Michael and Stephan, please.
Thank you, Dipshi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And thanks again also to Sama Audit for the opportunity to participate in this event today. And together with my colleague, Stephan, I'm pleased to present our Smart Suite for SAP to you today. We've been in the market for over 25 years and focus on software for audit, risk, and compliance. And our customers in Germany include most of the top 100 companies, 23 out of the 25 largest audit firms, and the German tax authorities with more than 35,000 users. As an idea distributor, we have been closely associated with Caseware and many other distributors, and especially with Sama Audit for many years. In the next hour, we would like to give you an insight into smart data mining with SAP and accelerated audit testing with SAP data, and show the benefits for CFOs and auditors. We believe this will be very relevant and beneficial to you if you are CFO or auditor in your company and you are using SAP systems. Why? As a CFO, data analysis and information provision to other areas of the business increasingly fall within your responsibility or the responsibility of the areas for which you are accountable. On the other side, as an auditor, it is hard to imagine nowadays audits without data analysis. As a result, CFOs and auditors are also faced with the challenges that come along with it. Data acquisition is one of the most critical hurdles in this field. Typical questions are, what data do I even need for my analysis? Or where do I find this data in my SAP system? Or once I have identified this data, how do I extract it from the system? And even if I have the data, the question is how to easily analyze it if I'm not a data scientist myself. We therefore transform the extracted data into a data model that is easy to understand for business users and predefine the analysis for many questions. At Audicon, we have been working on these issues for many years. SAP plays a prominent role as an ERP system in Germany, and as well as Dipshi explained, it's the case in India. And it's, of course, very complex. Therefore, we have concentrated on supporting our customers in data acquisition and analysis from SAP systems in the best possible way. And this has resulted in SAP Smart Suite. It's a package that solves the data acquisition from SAP with Smart Exporter and answers many questions around the processes purchase to pay and order to cash with IDEA apps. These standard solutions increase efficiency and reduce cost. But of course, there are always questions for which there are no predefined analysis and data procurement. Therefore, the system must be flexible when needed, and they must be usable as a self-service without having to involve the IT department. For example, we have a larger customer, a listed German automotive supplier with 236,000 employees, working in 560 locations and in almost 60 countries. They use Smart Exporter to extract financial data for 230 companies from their SAP systems and make it available to internal and external stakeholders. So it's clear that not all of that can be predefined. You have to be flexible, and it also has to work ad hoc. We have another customer who is the largest retail company in Europe and manages one of the biggest SAP systems in the world. They use Smart Exporter in combination with our audit tests. And after working with it for a while and seeing the benefits, they decided to replace all other sub-extraction tools they had in the company. They had collected them over the time with Smart Exporter. In the next 45 minutes, you will see that even individual data requests can be handled ad hoc in self-service and can be processed comfortably in IDEA or in other products. But with all efficiency, security is of course at the top of our priority list. Therefore, Smart Exporter has been certified by SAP for all relevant SAP systems for many years, and the SAP administrator always has control over all accesses despite self-service. This is very important. Thanks again, and I would like to hand over now to my colleague Stefan, who will explain in more detail and will show the stuff in live. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Michael. Stefan, please.
Thank you. I will share my screen if I'm allowed to.
Yes, you have shared.
No, it's not allowed yet.
Let me check it out.
Share my screen.
One.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Stefan, please check now.
Yeah. Stefan,
now it's possible. Thank you. In order to manage my view on the screen, I have multiple monitors here. I will deactivate my camera so it doesn't look so weird for you. And then I will start directly.
Sure.
Okay. So thank you, Deepshi and Sama Audit for having us. And thank you to Michael for the introduction. Today, the topic is smart data mining with SAP, accelerated audit testing with SAP data. And for today, first of all, I would like to introduce Audicon and myself very briefly. Then we will talk about data extraction from SAP and the use of Smart Exporter for that. And this whole topic then is included in the Smart Suite for SAP to see the live demo of the audit tests. As Michael said, we are a provider of audit, risk and compliance software and services in Germany with over 25 years of experience. And yeah, you said something about our clients. They vary from small tax advisors to large internal audit departments of global companies. Deepshi introduced myself so good, so I think I don't have to do it by myself anymore. But yeah, I'm a senior IT consultant at Audicon, and I do the software or the consulting and training with the customers in the terms of internal audit. and I am responsible for the technical product management of the process mining apps. The Smart Suite for SAP is a content package or something like a content package which we provide to our IDEA customers, and the Smart Exporter itself is independently from IDEA. So I would like to describe it in more detail today. When it comes to data analysis with SAP data, user faces several challenges. For example, they often have large amounts of data, complicated data structures. The process of accessing the data is complex, or the IT department needs to be involved in some way. So there has to be a way to have a quick and easy access to SAP data for analysis or external queries and reconciliations. And to make this possible, Audicon developed the Smart Exporter more than 10 years ago. This is now used globally in various companies and departments, for example, by some of the big four to extract the data of their SAP clients. And as Michael mentioned, some large retailer companies in Germany. And in detail, I assume you or your colleagues challenges some of these topics, or maybe all of them. So what are the challenges when you try to access data from SAP? Some of the challenges are, for example, that you are dependent on your SAP or IT administrators. And the data extraction can then take several days or weeks. And we developed the Smart Exporter to provide direct access to the SAP data for the end user. So when you're working in the internal audit and you want to have access to specific SAP data, then you need the direct access. Or the SAP functionality itself requires deep know-how and specific permissions to use then the relevant transactions. So our aim is to provide easy to use software on the desktop that you can easily use and extract the data from SAP by yourself. SAP has, or most of the SAP systems out there has more than 100,000 tables, and they are very difficult to locate and access. So we try to provide functionality to make all the tables searchable. So you can search for tables and for descriptions. You can search for fields and their descriptions. So even you don't know which specific table name you are looking for, you can enter some keywords and find maybe the relevant table for you. As Michael mentioned, data security and system security is a very important topic, and therefore we log all the actions with a unique ID within the SAP itself, but also on the client side. So IT administrators are able to follow those unique IDs and see what the user done in the system itself. It is certified by SAP, and it's very important we have only read-only access. So we cannot write into the SAP system, we only can read out the data. Sometimes users do not have direct access to the SAP system. For example, as a tax advisor, you are dependent on your client, so the client has to provide the data. Therefore, the Smart Exporter works online and offline, you can create specific data requests and provide them to others for the execution then in the right SAP system. After discussing the challenges that Smart Exporter solves, I would like to talk about how Smart Exporter works. Like I said, the Smart Exporter is a standalone software and works independently from IDEA. However, the Smart Exporter is integrated into IDEA and works very well with IDEA together. So the left side, IDEA Smart Analyzer, is optional. And I will explain a little bit more on the right side, because the IDEA part we will see in a few minutes. In the Smart Exporter, you are able to download all the table information for your specific SAP system. That's called the data dictionary. And with this data dictionary, you are able to search in the table within your SAP system, to select fields, and to manage or to create filters for the execution of the data request. After you created the selection of the tables, you defined some filters, and maybe you created some table joins, then you have the data request as a result. This data request is the definition of the required data for SAP, and it provides you all the information you need when you try to access the data in SAP. Now, with this data request, the Smart Exporter establishes a connection to the SAP system and execute the request either synchronously or asynchronously, and returns the data in the defined format. The challenges just mentioned do not only affect individual departments. There are general challenges with which several departments are struggling. So here are some benefits for different departments. For example, the internal audit is then independent of the IT and can do ad hoc data exports for ad hoc data analysis. They can use predefined data requirements from Audit or from colleagues and export the data directly. And if they use an IDEA app, they have no need to have knowledge about the SAP tables. So they only can download the tables and analyze them, like Deepshi said, with a click of a button. The finance and accounting department can, and that's a specific topic in Germany, they can export the data in a very specific format, which the financial authority in Germany wants to have to analyze SAP data. But they can also provide the data to external auditors. In the IT department, the benefit of the Smart Exporter, besides the fact that the IT department can use the Smart Exporter by itself, but they can also control over authorizations and exports, the data access. They can control the server load. So there's no timeouts, or there are no heavy data requests which are blocking some other tasks. They have very specific functionalities there. And like I said, the users have read-only access, so the IT department can use the user authorization which is inside of SAP, and the same user can only access the data through the Smart Exporter with the same authorization. The controlling department can create own reports. Maybe you know that this is a part which sometimes can is a very cost-effective part, because the creation of some of those reports requires expert know-how or different consultants to be included. With the Smart Exporter, they have a lot of functionality to use existing reports directly from SAP, but in a table structure, or they can create their own reports. They have access through one client of the desktop to several SAP systems if it's necessary, or they can access the different accounting areas of one SAP system. They can create different data formats. We will see that in a few minutes. And the last department, there may be more, but we have the personnel, and here we see they can access the latest HR data, which is a very specific area in SAP with a specific type of data. It's not like the general ledger, for example. It is a little bit different stored. And with the Smart Exporter, they have also access to the HR data. Audicon itself is SAP partner and Microsoft Gold partner, but we are also SAP certified, not only for SAP ERP, also for SAP S/4HANA. Those certificates were yearly renewed, so the last certificate should be done now or in a few weeks. And that's the theoretical part of the Smart Exporter. And now I want to go directly live into it. Like I said, the Smart Exporter is a desktop software, so we can start it from our Windows menu. And we want to create a new data request. The data request can be named whatever you want. So we want to create a general ledger. So I would like to name it like that. We have our connection to our SAP system, and now we are able to select all the tables we want to have in our data request. And like I said, we have maybe 100,000 different tables here. So I will search for the table BKPF, and that's the accounting document header. And when I search for accounting document, I see here I have the accounting document segment, and that's the second table we want to extract. So now we have two tables, the BKPF and the BSEG. We can now enter some quick filters to automatically filter our tables. For example, in our case, we only want to analyze the data of the company code 1000 and with the fiscal year of 2015. Then we see in the filter section that those filters directly affect the tables. In the next step, I see all the available columns for these tables. For the BKPF, I want to select a few of them. And for the BSEG, I also select a few of them. In the next step, we can create joins if we want to. So it isn't necessary, but in this case, the two tables are directly linked together within SAP, so I want to link them outside from SAP. This is the name of the result of our join. And now I select both tables and define the join condition. So which fields have to be equal. That's a little bit of manual work, but we have all flexibility to extract any kind of data we want to extract. So now I have the selected fields, the join condition, the filters. I will see the first 100 results in this join. So I can show the preview or select the preview. Now the Smart Exporter will connect to the SAP system, will execute the data request, but shows you only the first 100 records. I'm on a server, and maybe the connection from the server to our internal demo system is not the fastest, but here we have our preview, and we can see the result is already joined. In the first half of the table, I see BKPF and the selected fields, and in the second half, I see the BSEG with the selected tables, columns, sorry. When I'm happy with this result, I can define the type of the extraction. And in our case, I want to import the data directly into IDEA, but I'm also able to create CSV files, SAP AIS, AIS files, Microsoft Access files, or use an ODBC link to transfer the data directly in a new database, for example. Then I'm able to run the data request synchronously or asynchronously. In our case, I want to download the data directly into IDEA. So now we have here an empty project. In the background, the table again, or the connection again, will be established. And then the data request will be downloaded. And now the import in IDEA will happen, and we see the result here in our File Explorer in a few seconds. Here it is, General Ledger, 14,000 records, and the same structure as we saw in the preview. And now you are able to analyze the data any way you want. And this was a little data request, sure, but it doesn't matter if it is a table with 14,000 records or 100,000 records or 1 million records. Sure, the data extraction itself will take a little bit longer, but it will be consistent, and that's very important when it comes to data analysis. In conclusion, what we saw so far, we now know Smart Exporter is a self-service software to extract data from SAP. It is Windows-based, user-friendly, You can use data requests, but we also provide data request templates for you. We have individual favorites. So our data request, which we created, we can save it as a favorite and give it to other colleagues, for example. And like we saw, the IT is not necessary for the data access itself. It is compliant with the SAP authorization concept because the user, which is defined in the Smart Exporter, is my SAP user. So if I have the right to access the table in SAP, I have the right in the Smart Exporter too. I can create logs, and I have logs inside SAP. So as an IT administrator, I can directly see which user does which job, and I can cancel jobs if it's necessary. And like I said before, we have the online and offline access. Yeah, through the data dictionary, we have access to all the relevant SAP data sources, even if they are transparent tables, views, joins, structures. So these are very different data sources within SAP, but we can directly extract all of them, archive data too. So if an archive is included in the SAP system, then you can use this data too. I used IDEA before, but you are also able to use IDEA without IDEA, with Alessa, for example, or standalone, or to use different software solutions for further analysis. So now we saw the first component of the Smart Suite for SAP. We will now go a little bit deeper in the two other components. But what is the Smart Suite for SAP? It has been specially designed for professionals in audit, risk, and compliance to extract, prepare, and analyze data from SAP systems with IDEA desktop analytics software. So the first part, the extraction, we already saw. It is the Smart Exporter. But now for the preparation and analysis, we have two apps, Purchase to Pay and Order to Cash. And those apps, or we decided us for those apps because these processes are the most important processes in the company. So on the one hand, we have the procurement process, and on the other hand, we have the distribution process. And if we want to analyze the procurement process, we have more than or about 40 predefined audit tests. It depends which release version you are using, because every year we provide a new version with maybe more audit tests, with further developed audit tests. So we are working every year on a new version. And then you have the audit tests in the areas of master data, for example, to find duplicates in your master data, to find critical changes of your master data, to find inactive creditors or creditors in critical countries, for example, and many more. For purchase requisition, we have purchase order without purchase requisition and purchase orders before purchase requisition. Then for the purchase orders, we have POs without terms of payment, POs with zero or low value, or POs based on expired or long-term contract, and again, many more. So for all those different process steps, incoming goods, invoices, payments, and ledger, we have a variety of different audit tests. The same for the order to cash process. Here we have the master data again, because in the P2P process, it is the creditor master data. Now we have here the debitor master data or the customer master data. We have sales orders, billing documents, invoices, credit memos, open items, and the change log. And here we, for example, analyze the credit limit, because that's a very important topic when it comes to the sales process. We also have the topic credit memos. So we want to see if there are customers with a very high rate of credit memos. So maybe the customer has problems with our products or other problems, and we want to identify those items. But the question is, how do these components work together? IDEA is the starting point of the data analysis when it comes to the Smart Suite for SAP. In IDEA itself, the projects are managed and the data is important, prepared and analyzed. But in order to get the appropriate data, we have again the Smart Exporter. And the Smart Exporter can directly be started within IDEA. And then the result of the the Smart Exporter can be imported, and the data preparation to run the audit test will be automatically made by IDEA itself. The audit test then can be executed after the data preparation is done. And at the end, we have the functionality to create some audit reports out of the results. So now that you have received a first impression of the Smart Suite for SAP, I would like to give you again a small live demo. Now I have to change the IDEA project. And I will provide, or I will show you the purchase to pay app, but the order to cash app looks the same, only the data request is different, and the audit tests itself are different, but the overall functionality and the look and feel is the same in both apps. In IDEA, we find apps through the Smart Analyzer. Okay. Now we see we have the P2P app and the O2C app. We want to open the P2P app. We are in our current project, and now we want to create the data request for the Smart Exporter, because for the P2P process, there are many important tables within SAP, and we provide the data request that you don't have to know which table is to be extracted and something like that. For that reason, we provide with every new version, a new version of the data request. And then you can start the Smart Exporter from IDEA. And the right data request is open. maybe I don't go very deep into that because we already saw the smart exporter, but let me show you a few things. The quick filter has changed. So we provide with every data request and with every app specific quick filters. So you don't have to worry about that. You only have to fill in the quick filters and everything else is done automatically. And I already prepared this one, so you don't have to look how I enter those values. Yes, here it is. It's the same data request. I entered all the values, and then through the field and filters, we see all the relevant tables, and we provide those tables to you because our data preparation is expecting those tables. And the filter values, which we entered in the quick filters, are now affected to the tables. So we have here the company code, the business year. And when I open another table, for example, the change documents, then we have here our analysis period. We have additional filter to filter those tables a little bit more. And also joins are predefined. So you only have to worry about the quick filters, and then we can start the data extraction. I already did this in advance, so we can skip the data extraction here. And once the data extraction is done, we are able to import the data through our standard import routine or custom import routine. And this import routine helps you to import a lot of tables. For example, in this case, we have, I don't know, 20 to 30 different tables, and we don't want to import them after each one after another. So we have to find a solution to have a bulk import. And with this XML file, we provide those import functionality. And we now have here a little preview of the files, which file is available. Maybe there's a file missing, then it will be highlighted in red. But here in this example, everything is there. So after we click the button import, the data preparation or the data import and preparation will be started. And the result we can see now here in the File Explorer. The raw tables from SAP will be imported, and the data preparation provides some prepared tables for the audit tests, not only for the audit test, also for your analysis. If you want to, for example, analyze the general ledger, then in the SAT FI table, you will find the general ledger of your company. Or if you want to analyze the creditor master data, we provide a standard audit table with the creditor master data. In the next step, we can now look into the available audit tests. And even for the audit tests, we provide again further information. So not only the audit test itself and the logic behind it, we provide also a description, risks which addressed by the audit tests, and an audit methodology to understand what we are doing in those audit tests and to understand the results better. as you can see, some of those audit tests have the status ready, other are not ready, because here are some inputs required. But for today's example, I will execute a very simple audit test, duplicate creditors. It is very simple, but very efficient, because most of the time you will get a result. Sometimes the result is too much because the master data quality is so bad. But sometimes, for example, when it comes to identical bank accounts or identical VAT numbers, the results are not so much, but are very interesting, because if you have a creditor with the same bank account, but the name is totally different, or maybe the duplicate is only used once, then maybe you have some trouble there, because yeah, as an employee, I can create creditors and enter my own bank account into it, and yeah, maybe do some business with this creditor inside the SAP system. And this is a risk, and we address those risks here. On the left-hand side, we also categorize those audit tests. If you want to analyze invoices, then we provide those folders, and then you see only the audit tests which fulfills those filter elements. But like I said, we want to analyze the duplicate creditors. I can, after I marked this audit test, I can run it, and the predefined audit test will now run automatically. We see the progress on the right side, and it uses the master data table which was prepared through our data preparation step. So each audit test, we can see which tables are necessary for those audit tests, and which are the data behind it. This machine is a little bit slow today, but it isn't a hard audit test, so the result should be shown in a few seconds. I hope you not think that this is every time such behavior, so the time took so long. No, I don't know exactly what is technical wrong with this machine, but it's only today and only now. Sorry for that. Maybe there are some updates in the background at this moment, and we have not all the resources of this machine available. Okay. Okay, now it should be finished. Okay, now it's done. We have here our duplicates. Most of the audit tests does not create only one result set. We have multiple result sets because we try to identify duplicates in a different way, not only through the name or the address. Like I said, we also use the VAT registration number, the bank accounts and something like that. And we see we have 4 different creditors with the same bank account. And we have 2 creditors with identical addresses. And if we want to look at it in more detail, then we can open this file, and we now have here our creditor with the same address. It's like that. Or if we want to look at those 4 different creditors with the same bank account. So we can see here, those have the same bank account. And the last step in our workflow is to create an audit report. Here we see all the available result sets. And if we want to create a report with our 2 result sets here with the identical addresses and identical bank accounts, I have the opportunity to create an Excel report or to create a Word or PDF document. And yeah, that's the last step. I have an eye on the clock. Maybe we have some questions at the end to answer. So I would like to give back to Deepshi if we have some questions.
Sure. Stephan, thank you. Michael, thank you very much. I think in the short time which is there, such lucid way you have explained the things, just to recap sort of thing, we have Smart Exporter, which was shown by Stephan. Smart Exporter is a ETL, can extract data, data can be scheduled. We can extract data from complex solution like SAP, and that can work standalone. It can push data into Excel or Access or other solutions and IDEA, of course. But it's a standalone solution which is available. And now we have launched Smart Suite apps, which is a ready toolkit of audit tests, order to pay and procure to pay and order to cash cycles, which is available, which works with IDEA and which can work in conjunction with Smart Exporter. So you need a Smart Exporter and the Smart Suite apps which are available with IDEA, which can do magic for you or do automatic testing for you, accelerated audit testing with SAP installations. So I think that's what was shown, and I think what came out was a lot of detailing, a lot of complex work, which is made very simple for auditors in terms of Smart Suite apps. Really useful for a lot of companies, not only auditors, I would say, even if the finance department wants to carry out reviews, if any reviewer in a company wants to do audit testing, they can use Smart Suite apps. And of course, Smart Exporter continues to be the main workhorse for getting data from a complex solution like SAP. So if there are any questions, I think you can put it in the chat box or the Q&A, and I think we can take it up. Or if you have no questions, nobody has a question, then Stephan, maybe I can ask you 1 or 2 questions if you permit.
Sure.
Okay, Stephan, we have this Smart Suite apps. We saw how easy it is to, you showed duplicate creditors, one of the audit tests which are there, a simple test, but there are more than 100 audit tests which are available here in this 2 process cycles for auditors. Now, they will work with standard SAP tables and not custom ones. Can a user do any filtering, or can they? How do they use it? If they want to change it, or will the users will have to use it standalone as they come packaged, or can they make some changes to the filters, or something else if they want to set some value, as you said, low value invoicing. So can they set some values in there if they want to analyze, and how do they go about doing that? Can you just
Yes.
throw some light on that?
Sorry, I missed the last sentence.
Can you explain that a little? How does it work?
Sure. I explained it in the audit test section of IDEA. There we have some input values which we can provide to some of those audit tests. For example, if we want to analyze duplicate payments, for example, then maybe we only want to see those duplicate payments which are above a specific value, for example, 500 euros or dollars or something like that. And for this reason, we provide some input parameters so the user can decide by himself which value he wants to enter. And those parameters are available for a lot of those audit tests. But you said we are not able to use customizing data. That's not exactly the right thing, because we are able to analyze customized data through the Smart Exporter. So we have access to the customized data, but it could be that we have no predefined audit test for those customized data, but we can import those tables or fields into IDEA and analyze the customized data manually.
Thank you very much, Stephan. I think that explains it. So if you have custom built SAP tables, then you can use the exporter to analyze the data and to work on them. If you have standard SAP installations, you can then use the Smart Suite apps to, along with the Smart Exporter, to carry out analysis.
Right.
What kind of upgradation would, what kind of new tests or upgradation would, if somebody invests in a Smart Suite app, then what kind of investment, how Audicon will support continuous, upgradation of tests and, build more tests, and what is the plan ahead?
Yes, we started
year on year, because it will be some tests are run now, and maybe people run all these 100+ tests, but then you're done with it, right? So maybe you'll run them the next quarter to again find more deviations, maybe run the same tests, maybe after 6 months or 1 year, but then they'll become a repetitive exercise. Maybe the users will plug it within SAP, and there'll be no need to, run those tests. So how do you upgrade and bring in new tests, or, upgrade the tests to ensure that more value comes to the users?
Yes, that's a good question, because those apps, the O2C and P2P apps, were created with users. So we started a user group here in Germany and work together with internal auditors from different companies on those questions in those apps. And we have an ongoing process for that. So even if you have some requirements or suggestions for a better audit test or a new audit test, then we will include this in our backlog, and in every new release, we go through the backlog and see which, for example, a topic comes from different customers. So we prioritize those topics and include this in our new release. And those release, like I said, is a yearly release. So you will receive every year a new version with new content.
Thank you. There's one question. Will SAP itself not provide such facility in terms of a big data audit? Will we require IDEA for big data audit? I think yes. You will require IDEA for analytics in spite of having big data. And will SAP itself not provide such facility? Primarily, I can add that, I'm jumping the gun, but I can add that yes, SAP, you can build a lot of validity controls, or you can build a lot of controls within SAP, but it's such a complex solution and there's so much to do that you still require ad hoc analytics, and you still require to extract data and analyze data. So I think that is why there is a need for ETLs like Smart Exporter SAP, or there'll be other ETLs in the market for Oracle and so on. So, there are number of solutions available, and Smart Exporter is one of the best solutions, ETL, which I have seen, for extracting data from SAP, though I'm a biased person because I'm with Audicon. So, but it works very well. I think on this note, I can just add one other point here is that the solution does not require much support. It is on the fly. You install it and then it works like butter. It really works well. But in case, since SAP is a complex solution and you're scheduling something and you have not done your installation the way it should have been done, and there are issues, or you are importing some complex tables and there are issues, what we have found is that we are in the right time zone for Germany. And Germany, Audicon has been very supportive for having a support team, and they have just send them an email or a WhatsApp, and they are supporting the installations in the country. So that support has been fantastic. So I just wanted to add that, because we are working with Smart Exporter a lot, and the support is fantastic. So since there are no other questions, Michael, Stephan, I would just like to thank both of you for spending your valuable time scheduling this presentation, being with us, explaining the solution to us. It is a value add to all our viewers, all our audience. And this video, as I said, is being recorded, and we'll be sending the link to almost a lot of people who have SAP installations, who are Smart Exporters, who are in touch with us for solutions. So we'll be using this video to be sending the link and the recording. It will also be available on the Sama YouTube channel, Sama Audit YouTube channel, where people can view it. So a big thank you to Michael, a big thank you to Stephan for this lovely, lucid explanation in very simple terms. And of course, a very big thank you to all the participants who logged in to hear us, to be with us today. With that, and if you have any queries, please do write into us, and we'll be happy to take it up or even get it answered from Germany, from Audicon. With that, a big thank you to everyone. And next week, again, we'll have one more exciting session of Analytics Wednesday. Thank you very much, Michael. Thanks a lot, Stephan.
Thank you
very
and
much.
welcome. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.